Carden Madzokere, and welcome to lesson 7 from my textbook, The Distinction Bound Student. Alright, so in the previous lesson I gave you homework, and so we are going to start by revising the homework. So question 1 says define nominal GDP and then real GDP. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define the term GDP. Alright, so we've been defining this term so many times, and it's the total market value of all final goods and services produced within the borders of a country over a specific period of time. Usually it's done yearly. Now the difference between these two is that nominal GDP is GDP at current prices. So what it does is these prices are not adjusted to inflation. So if the total market value of all final goods produced last year compared to this year, it can be higher, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there was growth. At times it might be because of inflation. So it seems as if there was growth, but in reality there wasn't any growth. It was caused by inflation. The next one is real GDP, which is adjusted to inflation. So prices are kept constant. So the difference is nominal GDP is GDP at current prices, that is today prices. And then real GDP, prices are held constant. So this one, the second one, is the one that we use when we want to see if there is growth in an economy. All right. The next one, if GDP at market prices is 302 million rands, tax 32 million, and subsidies 18 million, calculate GDP at basic prices. Now if you look here, we are going back because market prices is the end result. So when we convert from basic prices to market prices, we add taxes and we subtract subsidies. So in this case we do the opposite. It's just like I always say, if you are going from 9 to 11, you add 2. But when you're going back from 11 to 9, you subtract 2. So whenever we're going forward, in this case, we add taxes, we subtract subsidies. Now, this particular question wants us to go back. So we change, the plus becomes negative, the negative becomes positive. All right. So it will be 302 minus 32 plus 18. The next one, if GDP at factor cost, okay, is 536 million, taxes on production 46, subsidies on production 26, and taxes on products, subsidies on products, like that. Okay, this one we say we are going forward, so it's 536 million plus, because we always add taxes on production, plus 46 minus 28 million plus 86 million minus 56 million. So it's as easy as that. All right, so here are the answers. You can pause the video and mark yourself, but I've explained the answers. All right, so we are now doing unit 4, which is the multiplier. All right, so in this unit we want to know what is the multiplier. So here, this is not really the definition. I'm saying here it is based on the principle that spending by one becomes income of another person, which then becomes that person's spending, which turns into income of yet another person, and so on. All right, so it is based on this principle, but we are not really defining the multiplier. I'm just saying there it is based on that particular principle. Now we have another term here, which is multiplier effect. Now the multiplier effect can be described as a situation when I usually like to say when a small change, so I prefer to put the word small there. In the next lesson I'll show you what I meant by small. Okay, I usually like to say when a small change in spending, yes, causes a disproportionate change in aggregate demand and hence in the level of aggregate income. Now this may not make sense now, but at the end of the lesson number 8, I think when we do the graph, you'll see I'm going to come back to this definition, and at that time I know it's going to make sense. All right, every time there's an injection of new demand into the circular flow, there is likely to be a multiplier effect. This is because an injection of extra income leads to more spending, which creates more income, and so on. The multiplier effect refers to the increase in final income arising from any new injection of spending. So we want to know, when can this new injection of spending happen? All right, so we have a couple of examples here. When government funds building of a new motorway. Right, so government is going to put money in the economy. So literally you can see this is an injection because it's government spending. Remember, we told you that when we're doing injections and leakages, this is government spending. So it's a J, it's injection. So it's an example, it's a good example. The next one, when there is an increase in exports. You see, keyword is increase here. Okay, and we all know that exports are injections. So exports, when our goods are sold outside the country, money comes into the country, so there's an injection there. It's different from imports because imports are a leakage. All right, the next one is when there is a reduction in tax. Okay, here you might get confused because the word tax, you know, it's part of what? Leakages. Remember? So tax is a leakage. Yes. But why am I putting it here, making it sound like an injection? Because I put the word reduction. So when a leakage goes down, in a way, it means if taxes go down, it means disposable income will increase. And when disposable income increases, that's more like an injection. So that is why I put this one here. All right. Now, the size of the multiplier depends on households' willingness to spend. And we call that the marginal propensity to consume. So the multiplier for country A is going to be different from the multiplier for country B because their appetite for spending is different. So if two countries have the same appetite, if I may say, for spending, then they are going to have the same MPC, which in turn gives them the same multiplier. All right, households' marginal decisions to save, which is the opposite of their willingness to spend, we call that the marginal propensity to spend. All right, I'm going to give you an example there. If you say for every R1 you give to South Africans, they spend 90 cents. So it means that they are spending 90% of, oh, look at my handwriting there, 90% of their income. Now, it also means they are saving 10%. All right, so if they are saving 10% and they are spending 90%, it means their marginal propensity to consume is 0.9 and their marginal propensity to save is 0.1. All right. So it is important to remember that when income is spent, this spending becomes someone else's income and so on. So always keep that in mind. So marginal propensities show the proportion of extra income allocated to particular activities such as investment spending by firms, saving by households, and spending on imports from abroad. For example, if 80%, okay, I have given this example already, so you'll see that it will be 0.8, and obviously the flip side is 0.2, which is the marginal propensity to save. All right, so there are two components of consumption in this model. So the first one, we call it induced consumption. Now, this is consumption which is affected by the level of income. And then we have autonomous consumption, which is the spending that happens even when income levels are at zero. Okay, for example, when we don't have money, we don't buy cars. But whether we have money or not, we will always need food. So that is an example that I can think of right now. All right. So if income levels are actually zero, autonomous consumption counts as a de-saving. That means people are going to actually borrow. They'll make plans, because if they don't make this consumption, it probably means life and death. But we can do away with induced consumption, because I'm not going to die if I don't have a car, but I'm going to die if I don't get food. It's something like that. All right, so autonomous consumption. Okay, I've said the difference already, so yes, you can read that for yourself. So how do we calculate this thing called the multiplier? All right, basically we have the first formula here, which is K is equal to change in Y over change in injection. We normally use this one when we are drawing graphs. You'll see when we get to lesson number 8. All right, so that's the first formula. The next one, which is the most common, is the one that you are going to be using most of the time. K is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC. So K there represents the multiplier. So if we want to know the multiplier, that's the formula we are going to use. And so they'll have to give you the MPC, because you don't know people's appetite for spending in a country. So in an exam, they wouldn't ask you to calculate the MPC unless if they give you something else. But normally they'll give you the MPC and they ask you to calculate the multiplier. Okay, we'll see. We'll do it in practice. Now you see the next formula is we are always going to go through this one when we are calculating using the first one. All right, because when we say K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC, then we say K is equals to, if our MPC is 0.9, we're going to say 1 minus 0.9. Then it's going to give us K is equals to 1 over, because 1 minus 0.9, that's 0.1. You see? 0.1. But if you look at this 0.1, what is it? You see? It's the same thing. It's the MPS. So when you are giving this formula, you are going to go through this one way or the other. All right, so anyway, this is the next formula. And then from here, then we say, how many times does 0.1 go into 1? So it goes 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, like that. So it goes 10 times. So in this case, if the MPC is 0.9, then your multiplier is 10, like that. All right. The next, now, for you to understand, I want you to, what can I say? I want to give you examples. All right. So listen carefully. We say this happens when there is an injection. So you see here, it says injection. All right. So the first one, let's see. South African government imports goods worth 20 billion rands. Okay. The next one, Warren Buffett puts 20 billion rands into his savings account. The next one, the British government increases income tax, which results in a decrease in disposable income of 20 billion rands. All right. I want you to concentrate very, very well here. Very, very much. I want you to answer me. Are you okay? I won't hear your answer, but are you following? Like, do you agree with everything here? Okay. If you do agree, then there's something that you didn't understand, because I'm saying here injections, but I'm saying South African government imports. Remember, imports are a leakage. Then I'm saying here Warren Buffett puts into his savings account. This is a leakage. Then I say increases. So don't confuse this. I used tax before, but I said decrease. So I'm trying to confuse here, to confuse you here. This one also is a leakage. So there is no way you can say you understand this because it doesn't make sense. I just wanted to see if you are following. All right, so this one is a leakage, that's a leakage, and that's a leakage. Right, let's do it again. Now I want you to concentrate. South African government funds 20 billion for the Gautrain project. Yes, okay, I won't say much. Warren Buffett invests 20 billion rand for the construction of a new car manufacturing plant. The British government reduces income tax, which results in an increase in disposable income. The Switzerland government funds 20 billion Swiss franc to fund a new motorway. Last but not least, Japan sees an increase in exports. So what I've done here, I'm deliberate here. One of these 5 is wrong. I want you to tell me which of these 5 is a leakage. All right, so pause the video and answer. Okay, back to the response. This one is correct. This one is correct. This one is correct. This one correct, and this one is correct. So I'm just playing with you. So if you found one that was wrong, you are not concentrating. All of them are injections, so everything is correct there. Right, so now I want you to calculate the MPC. What is the MPC for South Africa? All right, I think you are done calculating it. Let's see. If you have an answer to that, again, you are wrong, because I told you before when we started this lesson that they will give you the MPC. There is no way you can know people in South Africa what their appetite is for spending. So they will have to give you this figure, 0.9 for example, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, 0.5. So here I'm just giving you like going down. So what it means here is Japanese, they save more than South Africans. Now, which country do you think is doing good in as far as the multiplier is concerned, or which country will have its economy growing faster? Do you think it's Japan or do you think it's South Africa here? Because the rest, they are somewhere in between. Eh? All right, South Africa will actually grow faster than Japan. The reason is South Africans, because these ones save more and these ones spend more. So their multiplier is most likely to be higher than Japan, because these ones, they have a bigger leakage. And in this case, these guys have a very small leakage because their leakage is just 0.1. And these guys, their leakage is 0.5. So their economy won't grow the same amount. Another thing that I want to point out is, look here, I say 20 billion, same amount in all countries. But you'll see that these 20 billion is going to multiply differently when we compare. All right, so do the calculation there. Can you use the formula K is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC to calculate the multiplier? All right, let's see what you get. Okay, K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC. I wrote it like this for space, but yes, use that one, the one I gave you before. Put the 1 over 1 minus MPC. So if you subtract, so now you substitute our MPC according to this is 0.9. So K is equals to 1 over 1 minus 0.9. Then how many times, what is 1 minus 0.9? It's 0.1. Then how many times does 0.1 go into 1? 10 times. All right, the next one, this is for US. K is equals to 1 over 1 minus MPC. K is equals to 1 over 1 minus 0.8. 1 minus 0.8 is 0.2. 0.2 gets into 1 5 times. All right, so you see it's quite easy. There we go. There we go. So Japan's multiplier is small. You see, it's 2, 2.5, 3.3, and 10. So South Africa here has the biggest multiplier. So now, if the government injects 20 billion, what is the effect? So to get the effect, we multiply the injection by the multiplier. So in this case, look at the effect. This 200 billion rands is going to cause our economy to grow by 200 billion. All right, because remember, we said the multiplier is based on the concept that one person's spending becomes income of another, and so on and so on. But now in Japan, when you get 1 yen, you use 50 cents. But in South Africa, when you get 1 rand, you use 90 cents. So it multiplies because the next person's income becomes 90 cents. And then that person saves 1 cent, saves, 10%, and spends 90%. But on the other hand, in Japan, it's getting smaller quicker. So the effect is way too small for Japan. All right, so for US, it's 100, 66 for UK, 50 for Switzerland, and 40 billion. So the injection of 20 billion just multiplies by 2, but in this case it multiplies by 10. So you can see that South Africa is but these numbers, I'm just making them up to explain a concept. So what do you see here? Okay, same injection, sharp, and then MPC high, and it goes down. But when this thing is high, this thing is low. When this thing, okay, so the higher the MPC, we normally want this, because in an exam they normally then want to ask you, so what relationship do you see when the MPC is high, the MPS is low? When the MPS, as the MPC goes down, the MPS goes up. Look here. So the higher the MPC, the lower the MPS, and vice versa. You see, when our multiplier is, this one was this one here, okay? But the one that they normally ask is, what is the relationship between the MPC and the multiplier? So the higher the MPC, the higher the multiplier, and vice versa, meaning the lower the MPC, the lower the multiplier. But you can also conclude and say, the higher the multiplier, the larger the multiplier effect, and vice versa. But these ones, they don't normally ask them. They normally ask this one here. So make sure you master this. All right, you can read there where I say note. Okay, I just don't want this video to be longer than this. All right, so I give you the homework there, and I want you to do the homework, and when you're done, then the revision you will see in the next lesson. So thank you so much. We'll see you in the next lesson.